Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Unhinged. Today, we are joined by Ryan Scott. He is the head of product, AI, and innovation at DNA Behavior. Ryan is not just any tech leader, he's the guy who took the unprecedented world of human behavior and thought and threw in a mix of AI and made a sense of it all. With a strong background in software development and a talent for turning data into meaningful insights, Ryan is shaping the future of personalization in the workspace and beyond. We are truly excited to dive into his unique perspective on this show today. And I also had a chance to meet him personally in Atlanta last year. So, hello again, Ryan. Welcome to our show.
So thank you for having me.
So, how about Ryan? You just quickly start off by telling us and explaining to us, basically explaining to our viewers, the implications of behavioral science in customer and employee experiences and how AI intersects with it and why this combination is so powerful for businesses today.
We are in the business of helping people understand how people are different and help them understand how best to work together. So, what motivates people to make specific decisions, how they work in the workplace, and then from a customer lens, how they approach decision making and the buying process so that we can remove that friction. So, if you imagine we're dealing with massive sets of data because we're describing people and humans are naturally just very complex. So there's about 4,000 different behavioral insights that we have in our database.
How do you see behavioral insights paired with AI reshaping employee and customer experiences in modern organizations?
Yeah, so we'll start with the customer side first
Mm-hmm.
because our approaches are very different. But on the customer side, there was a recent Harvard study that was done, and 95% of the decisions that consumers make when they're in the buy process of a service or a good is all subconscious. So that means that people don't necessarily know their own thought processes and decisions that are actually going on behind the scenes whenever they buy something. So a sales and marketing expert at any kind of firm, they're trying to tackle this problem, is trying to hyper personalize the whole buying experience for somebody. And that's a challenge for them because we're all expected to do stuff more, faster, better with AI and technology. But if a lot of these insights are hidden to them or some subconscious for the consumer, that's a difficult challenge to really tackle. So that's the key problem that we're solving with on the consumer side, the buyer side, is revealing these buying decisions that people are having whenever they are in buying a product or service, revealing those to a sales or marketing team, putting those inside of their CRM so that they can see these insights on people, so that they can customize that buying experience. So what that looks like is you would use, a tool like HubSpot, or a modern digital marketing platform. And we use HubSpot internally. So the way it works for us is we have all of our data inside our CRM. And when
Mm-hmm.
we send people marketing emails, we can swap the content out dynamically. So someone that's more introverted is going to see completely different content in our system versus someone that's extroverted. And we know that we can speed up the process of learning a new solution and help ultimately help our sales and marketing process by customizing the way that people absorb information and receive marketing from us. So that's how it works for the customer side. Now,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about this from the employee side, if you think about all of the interactions that happen for an employee whenever they're working for a company. So the first touch point would be in the hiring process. So we can benchmark specific job openings at a company so we know exactly what type of person would fit that role perfectly. We use AI in order to automate the process of choosing the right candidate that should fit that role. So we have a web app piece of technology that you can use AI in order to filter out the full list of candidates. So let's say you have 200 people that apply to a job. Our AI could filter out 180 of those, leaving you just 20. And we know that all 20 of those are behavior. We have a whole AI platform that has 10,000 pages of research and text that have been indexed into it. And that system will generate behavioral interview questions. The next, point of contact for someone is within the hiring process, the hiring letter. We have a whole AI module that will actually generate all kinds of emails and letters for
Mhm.
HR teams to speed up that process. And then whenever they're onboarding to the team, they can really meet their future coworkers. And then imagine if someone's in the sales or marketing team, we then could match up consumers that we know would be suited for working with that salesperson. We
Mhm.
then can work on the process of merging the clients and the employees together and do rep matching, as we call it. So we would match up reps with ideal customers so that they're all working together and that all works more seamlessly. So that's kind of a rundown of how it would work. And there's just a lot of data that goes behind the scenes just because humans are so complex.
Right, right. So this is how in organizations, you guys on the organization level, these solutions are being leveraged. So how can leaders themselves, being individuals and persons themselves, leverage these technologies to make, like, for example, you sent talked about one example where you can match reps with specific consumers who are customers who are have a certain personality type. So how can, other than this use case, how can leaders leverage this within organizations to help team dynamics and performance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one way that we've really helped firms with is that if you have anybody that's kind of struggling in a specific area,
Mm-hmm.
helping the leader understand that not everybody naturally excels at every one specific thing. So a problem that we just helped a particular firm with based in Atlanta is they had someone that was routinely not following procedures as far as entering in notes into their CRM tool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, seems rudimentary, and the old school way of doing it would be, the leader would just thump the table and, tell them you need to do better, you're not following the instructions. But with the insights that our platform has, there's some people that just naturally are terrible at following procedures and instructions because they get bored. So people that are highly creative, and I'm one of them, we like to do things differently every single time that we do it. We don't like to follow this proven path. We get bored with that. We like to do things that are new and different and kind of explore and learn that way. So our system will identify these behaviors, recognize tasks that someone would be good at and would excel at, and other ones that aren't their natural strong suits. And then to bridge that gap, there's some things that you can just not assign to one specific person if they're just not suited for it. Entering in notes into a CRM, though, is something that everybody should be doing in a firm. So recognizing that that's actually a modification that we need to have in training. Uh, our AI can actually come up with training notes and coaching notes for the leader so that they can teach the person why it needs to be done a specific way so that they would learn, knowing that they're highly creative or whatever their trait is. Our system will use those insights in order to create a custom coaching path for the leader working with that person. So using that same sort of technique, I mean, it could be used in any process in a business, just anything that someone is lagging at, helping the leader identify that there's reasonings behind that. It's not just that they're just not following instructions and are being a rebel, so to speak. There could be more of a behavioral issue that needs to be explored. And it could be retraining or coaching, but if it's done on a behavioral perspective, you're going to get a better output.
So, all that said, AI is on the rise these days. Everybody is talking about AI. This conversation is also about how behavioral data it meet matches with the AI and how we can implement AI in it. So there must be some expectations on the customer end as well regarding the rise of AI and how it's going to get implemented in your system, especially behavioral science. What role does it have to play in it? And what is it that DNA behavior is doing to meet those expectations in the short run as well as in the long run?
Yeah, it's a great question. So going back, I think that we don't always know where technology is going to take us. And I think that that's where I've kind of learned along in my career. One thing that I've drawn from that was a really big inspiration in the way that we built our technology is recently in Atlanta, we built a new stadium. And that stadium was built for a number of purposes. We have a football team, or as we call it, soccer here, an NFL team, the Falcons, and then we have a lot of concerts that come through. But then also Atlanta is one of the host cities for the 2026 World Cup. So this stadium is also going to be um, the main one of the main stadiums that the World Cup is in. So when they designed this stadium, they built in a lot of technology into it, but they didn't 100% know exactly what that technology was going to be used for. They essentially opened up the doors and the protocols inside of the stadium so that future things could be bolted on or added on. And that's really been an inspiration for the design of our own technology is we don't always know where it's going to take us. But I've tried to design everything inside of our system so that it's as flexible as possible, so that ultimately we can add on bolt-on upgrades or new modules to meet the needs of the customer. And that's just we can't really predict what AI is going to bring us and what technology. So being as flexible as possible is something that I think every IT or a product designer needs to do. But it's really helped us out at DNA because we are already 2 years into this build, we're already bolting on new elements inside of our system.
So that sounds all really great, Ryan, and really promising in terms of what AI can do for us in this field in the future. So, what do you think would be the biggest challenges in that, especially in terms of hyper personalization solutions, when you're scaling it for large scale enterprises or diverse markets?
Yeah, so one of the challenges that we're constantly having, and this is, I think, one that we will always have, is that people are bad at adapting to technology. They don't know how to use it. Some people are good at it, but then most people aren't. That's actually a behavioral insight that we measure at DNA is knowing how well someone will adapt to technology. And, it's only a third of the population that are really good at it. So if you put a piece of new technology in front of somebody, it's only a third of your users that will actually know how to intuitively use it. So building out that change management process so that people understand what's the intention of this, how does it work? A lot of people have a distrust for AI just because they don't understand it, they don't know how it's used. There's other elements that are in the media that influence that are out of our control. So being transparent in how something is developed, showing that it's reliable, the system is fair, those are all things that we really try to build into our process. And I think that that's the only way to go. I've gone through a whole certification process with Microsoft, and that with AI, and that AI certification is almost, I would say like 40% of it is all about the human element. So they have this whole process about documenting how something transparently works, demonstrating that it's reliable and fair, and all of these elements that really help bridge that gap and that trust with people. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges and something that we'll always be working on.
It's really intriguing for me what you just said that, in organizations, people did not know much how to use the different technology or different elements of technology. So is that sort of a generational thing? Because I would expect Gen Z to have a lot more, grasp into technology rather than, maybe millennials or especially Gen X.
We see it across all generations, but the problem is slightly different. So I'll give you an example. When you're building an AI bot, an element of that is really predicting what people are going to ask the AI bot and training the bot so that it can give better answers. And a lot of times that works by, there's like a exceptions report that's generated by these AI bots. So we developed a weekly meeting internally where we review this exception report, and that essentially is reviewing the questions that people were asking our AI bot for, which are primarily like support or product related. You see these exceptions where the AI bot had a low confidence level on how well it was able to respond. That and also there's a voting tool that we have built into the AI bot. So if the bot gives a poor answer, that someone can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So they would give a thumbs down in that case if they weren't happy with the response. And we
Hmm.
look at all of these, and we also generally know who's asking the questions because we can see some account data as well, aside from it. We can't see the people's names, from privacy perspective, but we can see some of their um, ID codes and things associated with their account. So we have an idea of their age, and their background, and we see that older people have no idea how to do prompt engineering. So they don't know how to ask the AI bot the questions. And I think that just goes down to like experience of doing like Google searching and really understanding how to develop a query. Older people don't know how to do that. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we have that way. But then on the younger generations, they rely on technology too much. So they expect it to do stuff that's completely out of scope and outside of the domain that we're even allowed, or even interested in, or even confident in our AI bot being helpful in. So they may ask questions that are more about behavioral health rather than behavioral science. And there's a huge difference with that. And for a bunch of legal reasons, our AI bot just avoids any question that's around behavioral health. We just can't go there. But we're constantly getting challenged by the younger generation and trying to push the barrier on what the AI bot can do, almost trying to expect it to be like a therapist.
Yeah.
And we're not going there. So that kind of goes, we see it in both ways. It's like people are over relying on it and challenging it in one way. And then the other part is like a user training element where they don't even know how to use it, and we're trying to bridge that gap. So we really have to train the bot to be able to adapt to both. And one way that we've done that is that if somebody gives a really poor engineer prompt, so that would be someone that doesn't have any skills or experience in using AI, we actually taught our AI to recognize that and then teach the person in their response how to ask the question better. So that's something that we've built into it, and we've seen some good results. And then also on the other side, if someone asks an inappropriate question, we just have a very good response that explains what the scope of what the AI bot does, and what it's intended for. And that seems to help it on the other side. So it's really it all comes down to human behavior at the end of the day. So it's a very interesting business that we're in, and having all these AI insights as well.
Yeah. So you can never get bored.
Exactly. There's plenty of work to be done.
Yeah. So, Ryan, before we wind this up, I have one last question that I would like you to shed some light on for our viewers. So, which industry do you think is most ripe for behavioral science technology use case implementations? And what do you think is the impact on society at large for advancement, particularly in this field?
Yeah, it's a great question. I see that as like a short term and a long term type horizon. So short term, the industries that we are best suited for are ones where there's a heavy high touch between two different people or humans. So think about it, financial services, insurance, um, real estate, anything where you have people that are working with other people. A lot of trust needs to be created, and a lot of times these people are very busy. They live a very stressful, busy life, and there's a lot of regulations in these industries. So being able to speed up processes, being able to speed up the relationship building time between those individuals, that always helps. So I see that as short term, and those are the industries that we're working in right now. Long term, I see this as going, helping even robots, helping them communicate better with people. So we've all seen, how there's robots that are being developed now. And I think that, 10, 20 years down the road, we'll all have a robot in our house. And those
Yeah.
robots need to have insights on how to communicate to people. I think that, the future long-term care, element that we'll be dealing with is that rather than having a nurse come and take care of us and clean up after us or feed us or whatever kinds of issues that we run into and with our health as we age, I think a robot will be trained to do it. But robots need to be able to pick up on our emotions, um, communicate to us effectively, recognize when we need space, train us on how to do new specific things. If someone has dementia or some sort of health issue going on, that's it's all behavior and how you deal with some of these issues. So I think that robots actually need to be trained on these insights as well. So I think that, as long as humans are on Earth, there's a element of behavioral sciences. And it's going to be really interesting as this all shapes our future.
Yeah, and this doesn't seem very far off. And trust me, the
Does
first
it?
the first household robot that's gonna come in, I'm gonna buy that because I really need a robot maid.
100%. I can't wait. I can't wait to not have to clean a toilet in the future. And I'm already looking at robotic vacuums. The future is bright. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us today. This has been a really informative session for us. And I look forward to connecting with you for new insights in the near future as, AI is going to have you build more use cases and go into diverse industries where you'll have new experiences. We would love to hear about them again. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This has been really interesting, and I'm happy to share. So thanks, Zara.